Owen collapsed on the bathroom floor, seizing and foaming at the mouth, just 12 hours after opening a wedding gift from my best friend. That was the moment I realized my world wasn't just fragile, it was being deliberately shattered by someone I once trusted with my life. My name is Camilla, and 2 weeks ago, I married the love of my life, Owen. He's kind, intelligent, and steady, the kind of man who makes you believe in the idea of home. We met 5 years ago through mutual friends, and after years of struggling in New York's architecture scene, I finally felt like life was turning a corner. We had a small but beautiful wedding. Nothing fancy. Just the people who mattered. Or so I thought. My best friend Chloe had been by my side since college. We shared everything: apartments, secrets, even heartbreaks. And although she never said it out loud, I always sensed there was a strange tension between her and Owen. She was overly sweet around him, always teasing him like they were old flames, even though they weren't. At least, that's what I believed. Chloe wasn't just a guest at my wedding. She was my maid of honor. She gave a beautiful speech. She cried. She toasted us. And the next morning, she showed up at our apartment with a velvet-wrapped box. "A little something special for your honeymoon," she said with a smirk. "Don't open it until tonight." Inside was a stunning bottle of Chateau des Amis, an expensive French wine I'd never heard of, but the label was aged and elegant. I don't drink much, but Owen's a wine guy. He was thrilled. That night, we stayed in. No travel yet, just a quiet dinner in our new apartment. We lit candles, played soft music, and Owen opened the bottle. I remember him pouring 2 glasses, swirling it like he always does. I took one polite sip and winced. It was too bitter for me. I passed on the rest. Owen, on the other hand, said it was unique and kept drinking. He finished nearly the whole bottle by himself. I teased him for getting tipsy, and we laughed like any newlyweds would. By morning, everything changed. I found him on the bathroom floor, shaking violently. His face was pale, lips tinged blue, and his breathing was ragged. For a split second, I froze. Then I screamed. The paramedics arrived within 10 minutes. They worked on him right there on the floor, attaching wires, administering fluids. One of them asked what he'd eaten or drunk. I mentioned the wine. His expression tightened. At the hospital, they told me Owen was in critical condition. He was showing signs of ethylene glycol poisoning, a chemical found in antifreeze. The words didn't make sense at first. Poisoning? They pumped his stomach, started treatment. The doctor asked me again about anything unusual. I told him about the wine. He nodded and requested the bottle for testing. That's when something clicked. Chloe had been so insistent we opened that gift. She even texted me late that night. "So? Did you enjoy it?" My hands shook as I replied, "Owen drank it all. I wasn't into it. Too strong." She didn't reply. The next morning, I got a call from Chloe. Her voice was flat, almost stunned. "Wait, Owen drank all of it?" I paused. "Yeah. Why?" Silence. Then she mumbled, "Nothing." Just surprised. My blood went cold. I hung up, and I started to wonder, was I ever supposed to drink that wine? Or was I the one who was supposed to be in that hospital bed? That's when I made a decision. I was going to find out the truth, no matter what it cost me. And the first place I'd start was Chloe's apartment, because something inside me already knew. This wasn't an accident. The moment I hung up that call with Chloe, my hands wouldn't stop shaking. I wasn't scared. I was furious. That voice, that hesitation, that weird, almost panicked "Owen drank it," it said more than she ever intended. I stood there, in our apartment, staring at the now empty velvet box like it was a live bomb. The wine bottle had already been taken by the hospital staff, but the packaging, the note, her signature, all of it was still with me. I felt like a fool. For years, I defended her. When people said she was too close to Owen, I said they were being paranoid. When my cousin warned me that Chloe was the type who didn't like to lose, I rolled my eyes. And when Owen mentioned once, only once, that Chloe made him a little uncomfortable with how flirty she was when I wasn't around, I laughed it off as her being just playful. I was wrong. And now, Owen was lying in a hospital bed with tubes in his veins because of it. I packed a small bag, grabbed the gift box, and took a cab to Chloe's apartment. I wasn't even sure what I was looking for. Proof? A confession? Maybe I just needed to see her face. She lived in a loft downtown, the kind of place that screamed curated perfection. I'd helped her move in just 2 years ago. I still remembered where she kept her spare key. I stood outside her building, my heart pounding. I felt like I was trespassing, but I had no choice. I needed to know. The moment I stepped inside, everything felt off. Her living room looked untouched, but on the coffee table, I saw something that stopped me cold. An open notebook. It wasn't even hidden. Just sitting there, like it was waiting for someone to read it. I knew I shouldn't, but I couldn't stop myself. My hands moved on their own. The pages were filled with dates, observations, and the kind of handwriting that shifted between careful and frantic. And then I found this. April 5th. Camila's wedding is in 2 weeks. I still can't believe he chose her. I've been planning the wine delivery. It has to be perfect. She'll never see it coming. I couldn't breathe. Page after page detailed what sounded like a plan. She'd researched toxins, ordered the wine from a third-party distributor, and even practiced handwriting the note. She'd thought this through. And the worst part? One line was circled in red. Make sure Camilla drinks it. He's not the target. My knees buckled. All this time, I thought Owen was the victim of a random poisoning. But I was the target. Me. He just happened to drink the wrong glass. I snapped pictures of every page with my phone. I put the notebook back exactly as I found it and slipped out of her apartment. I went straight to the hospital, where Owen was still unconscious, but stable. The nurse told me he had been lucky. A few more hours without treatment, and it could have been fatal. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there beside him, holding his hand, and whispered, I'm going to make sure she pays for this. The next day, I called someone I hadn't spoken to in a long time. Monica, my childhood friend, who now worked at a law firm specializing in criminal defense and fraud. I told her everything. She didn't doubt me for a second. Monica arranged a meeting with a detective the following morning. That night, as I sat in the hospital lobby, Chloe called again. I didn't answer. She texted, Camilla, please call me. I think something's wrong. I didn't mean for this to happen. Didn't mean for what? My blood turned to ice. Then another message came through. The insurance paperwork, did he already sign it? Please tell me he didn't. Insurance? I had no idea what she was talking about. I stood up, ran to Owen's attending nurse, and asked if I could check his emergency documents. She hesitated, then said, He mentioned updating his life insurance policy a few weeks before the wedding. Why? Is something wrong? I didn't answer. I pulled out my phone, opened Owen's work email, and there it was. A life insurance policy. Effective last month. 2 beneficiaries listed, my name and Chloe's. I stared at that screen like it was on fire. Chloe's name, on Owen's life insurance policy, listed right under mine. I felt the world tilt. Not only had she tried to poison me, she'd made herself a beneficiary in the event of Owen's death, which meant if I died, and he later died too, she'd cash out both. That wasn't just obsession, that was strategy. And suddenly, everything Chloe had ever done made sense. The way she inserted herself into our lives, the way she joked about marrying someone like Owen if I didn't get to him first, the way she looked at me during our wedding like I'd stolen something that belonged to her. I sent the screenshots to Monica immediately. She called me within seconds. Camilla, this is serious. You need to get that notebook into the hands of the detective, and do not talk to Chloe. Too late. She was already standing in front of me, in the hospital lobby, wearing a fake smile and holding a bouquet of sunflowers. Camilla, I've been so worried. Her voice was syrupy, her eyes flicking past me toward the ICU doors. I couldn't believe her nerve. You need to leave. What? Why? I stepped closer. Because I know everything. She blinked. I don't know what you mean. I pulled out my phone and tapped the screen. Her journal entry flashed back at her. Clear as day. April 5th. She'll never see it coming. Her face twitched. You broke into my apartment? She whispered, her tone shifting. The sweetness dropped like a mask. You tried to kill me, Chloe. She laughed, but there was no joy in it. Oh, come on, you're fine. He's fine. You're being dramatic. I clenched my fist so hard my nails dug into my palms. You signed yourself onto his insurance. Her smile dropped completely. She leaned in, voice barely above a hiss. Do you know what it's like, watching you have the life I was supposed to live? While I play bridesmaid to the girl who always got everything? For a second, the mask was completely gone. I saw her rage, her bitterness, the madness she'd kept buried for years. And then she straightened her shoulders and stepped back. Well, unless you've got proof, enjoy playing victim. But if you drag my name through the mud, I will sue for defamation. I didn't say a word. I didn't have to. Because as she turned to walk out, smug and composed, 2 plainclothes officers appeared at the entrance. Chloe Winters? One of them asked, holding up a badge. We'd like to ask you a few questions. Her smile froze. What is this? I haven't done anything. We have reason to believe you may have been involved in the attempted poisoning of Owen Rivera. We'd like you to come with us. My heart pounded as they led her away. She didn't look back. I thought that was the end of it. But I was wrong. Because 2 hours later, while I was sitting beside Owen, watching the heart monitor beep steadily, Monica texted me, Camilla, you're not going to believe this. I just got a call from the detective. There's another insurance policy, one you don't know about. I froze. What do you mean another one? Someone forged your signature. There's a third beneficiary. I called her instantly. Who? There was a pause. Then Monica said, Owen's mother. My chest tightened. She co-signed the document, with Chloe, months ago. The moment Monica said Owen's mother had co-signed an insurance policy with Chloe, I felt something inside me snap. His mother, Clara. She always smiled sweetly and called me dear. But something about her never sat right with me. From day one, she made passive-aggressive comments about my career, my modern views, and how I wasn't family-oriented. I brushed it off. I told myself she was just old-fashioned, but now I saw it for what it was. Contempt. And suddenly, a flood of memories hit me like a truck. The mysterious stomach pains I got every time we visited her house. The special tea she insisted I drink, just for digestion. The dinner after our engagement party, when I spent the entire night vomiting, and she said it must have been nerves. Every time, she played the sweet, concerned mother. But now I wondered if it was all part of something far darker. She didn't just dislike me, she wanted me gone. That night, I made a plan. No more being the victim, no more waiting for people to believe me. It was time for them to feel powerless. The next day, I visited Owen at the hospital. He was finally awake, weak but lucid. When I told him everything, the wine, Chloe, the insurance policies, his face turned white. My mom? He whispered. I nodded. She always talked about how marriage changes everything, how she had to protect me from the wrong people. I thought she meant ex-girlfriends, not you. I took his hand. I need your help, Owen. If we want the truth, we have to go to her house. He didn't even hesitate. We went the next afternoon. Clara wasn't expecting us. She opened the door with that same sugary voice. Camilla, how is my son feeling? I stepped inside without answering. I need to look at your office, I said. You keep paperwork here, right? She blinked. Excuse me? Owen spoke firmly. Mom, we know about the policy, the one you signed with Chloe. Her face didn't move for a full 5 seconds. Then she laughed. Oh, that. It's just a precaution. You know how complicated life can get. No, I said coldly. It was a plan, and I'm going to prove it. We searched her office while she stood in the hallway, silent. Inside, I found it. a folder labeled Estate Planning. It was filled with financial documents, including copies of the forged insurance application, with my forged signature. There were also notes in Clara's handwriting. If Camilla is gone, funds will pass to me and Chloe. Must secure timing. I took pictures of everything, but the final blow came when I opened a drawer and found a small black notebook, just like the one Chloe kept. Inside were pages of disturbing entries. She doesn't deserve him. Her absence will fix everything. And then, one line circled over and over. The tea always works slowest, but safest. I turned to Owen, whose hands were shaking. She was poisoning me for months. He stared at the pages in horror, then turned to his mother. Why? He asked, voice cracking. Why would you do this? Clara didn't answer. Her face hardened. Her mask dropped. Because you were mine until she came along, she said, almost in a whisper. You were going to take care of me, not throw your life away on someone who doesn't even give you children. Owen was frozen, but I wasn't. I turned on my phone. Thank you for that confession, Clara. This whole room's been recorded since we walked in. Her eyes widened. What? Owen finally moved. Get out of our lives, he said. You and Chloe both. I sent everything, recordings, photos, notebook entries, to Monica, and within hours, she handed it all over to the detective on the case. But that wasn't the most shocking part, because the next morning, I got a call from the police. They'd checked Clara's phone records. 3 months ago, Chloe and Clara had exchanged over 200 text messages. But more than that, Clara had transferred $10,000 to Chloe's account, 2 weeks before our wedding. When the police confirmed that Clara had wired $10,000 to Chloe just 2 weeks before our wedding, everything locked into place. The poisoning wasn't spontaneous. It wasn't an act of desperation. It was premeditated, funded, coordinated, planned by 2 women who were supposed to love us. Clara and Chloe weren't just connected. They were partners. Clara wanted me gone because she hated the idea of losing control over her son. Chloe wanted me gone because she thought Owen should have been hers. Together, they formed the perfect storm. One with money, one with motive, and both with enough audacity to believe they could get away with murder. But they underestimated me. Armed with the documents, the recordings, the forged signatures, and now the bank transfer, the detectives moved fast. Chloe was arrested for attempted murder, conspiracy, and fraud. Clara was charged as a co-conspirator and with multiple counts of attempted poisoning. Both of them broke, just not in the way I expected. Chloe caved first. Faced with years in prison, she confessed to everything: how she researched toxins, how she poured a measured dose into the wine, how she expected me to drink it, and how Owen ruining the plan made everything unravel. Clara? She didn't say a word. Even when she was arrested, even when Owen visited her in jail, pale and shaking, asking why. She just sat there, silent, cold. She never asked for forgiveness. But she did beg one person not to testify, her sister, who later told us Clara had been obsessed with keeping Owen under her care since he was a teenager. Her words? If he ever leaves, I'll have nothing left. Turns out, she meant that literally. Clara had emptied her savings, mortgaged her house, and taken out debt in Owen's name over the past 3 years. She was drowning financially. His marriage meant losing the only steady support she had. And in her twisted logic, removing me solved everything. The trial was brutal. Our names were dragged through the mud in the press. Some people online even questioned whether I'd exaggerated. But when the full story came out, complete with the insurance documents, the journal entries, the poison analysis, public opinion flipped fast. The jury didn't hesitate. Chloe received 12 years in prison for attempted murder, conspiracy, and insurance fraud. Clara received 15 years, with the judge calling her a manipulative and dangerous influence who weaponized maternal love to justify violence. I didn't cry at the sentencing, but I did hold Owen's hand. He'd been through hell. We both had. But we survived. A few weeks after the verdict, we packed up everything and left New York. We moved to a quiet coastal town in Maine, where no one knew our names and no one whispered behind our backs. Owen found work at a small clinic. I opened my own design studio. Life slowed down, and that was exactly what we needed. 6 months later, we stood together in front of a new home, fresh paint, open windows, and a nursery waiting inside. I was 7 months pregnant. When I felt the baby kick for the first time, I cried. Because that little flutter wasn't just life, it was proof. Proof that their plan failed, that their hatred didn't win, that love, real love, endured. And as for Clara and Chloe, Clara hasn't sent a single letter from prison, not even to her son. Chloe wrote one. It arrived the day after the sentencing. It said, "You ruined everything." I didn't reply. I don't need revenge anymore, because they already lost. Their freedom, their image, and the one thing they wanted to control, us. I don't live in fear. I don't live in anger. I live in peace. And every time I walk past the nursery door, I remember, survival was my revenge. Comment the number 1 if you want to hear more true revenge stories like this one. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss what happens next.